Coming up tonight on the penalty box. Controversial goalie in Montreal gone missing. Flyers defenseman throwing team under the bus. Off-ice issues disastrous in DC. Rumors flying around from sources. And the comeback team of the year so far, the Canucks. Leaving fans what the Canuck? That and more on the penalty box. Welcome, hockey fans, to another episode of the Penalty Box with your host, Kalal Oakman. Tonight we have a lot of stuff to cover. Like I said in the opening segment, we have news from Montreal, Philadelphia, Washington, and of course, my favorite team from Season 3, the Vancouver Canucks. No, it's not doom and gloom with Vancouver Canucks. Frankly, it's going to have you scratching your head going, what the Canuck? But first, our top stories. Top stories for tonight is outspoken and quite flamboyant star goaltender from the Montreal Canadiens. I'm talking about Marty Maniac. Marty the Maniac, as I like to call him. He's been running his trapper just a little bit on the forums, shooting his mouth off, complaining that his team gave a forfeit win to Minnesota when his team, frankly, outplayed them, out-hustled them, and outscored them. Unfortunately, the team was found to be in violation of certain rules, and they had to forfeit the win to Minnesota. He was quite upset about that, and he was very vocal on the forums. However, he hasn't played since Sunday, October 10th. He played Sunday, October 10th when the Canadiens took on the Mighty Ducks at home and beat them 6-0. He recorded his first shutout of the year. He faced 9 shots, made 9 saves, of course. For the season, he's boasting a record of 4-2. He's played 372 minutes, posted 1 shutout, faced 89 shots, made 74 saves, given up 15 goals, has a 2.42 goals against average, and a save percentage of .831. The question that I'm asking, and a lot of people in the VHL are asking, where has he gone? Has he been suspended by the team due to conduct unbecoming? I don't know. This is a developing story which we'll be covering. Frankly, I hope to God he's not lost in the frozen tundra of the Great White North, known as Canada, going, Chocolate Bleu, where's my team? Who knows? But this is one thing I do know. We will be covering this story as it develops to keep you up to date on what's going on around the VHL, including what happened to the star goaltender from Montreal, Marty the Maniac. Now, on to other news. The Philadelphia Flyers star defenseman Dark Cloud Donnie, otherwise known as just Donnie 2, has taken control of the team bus and thrown his whole team under it, including the owner. The Philadelphia Flyers management is quite frankly not happy with this. Donnie's not happy with the team. He says, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he's also said on the radio show when he's quite outspoken, that he's not happy with the team's lack of practice, his team's lack of heart and desire to play these games, and their lackluster play with a 6-11 record, 6-11-1 record. They've gotten their ass handed to them by the Pittsburgh Penguins twice, 7-1 and 5-0. They lost to the New York Islanders in a heartbreaker, 3-2. They kicked the snot out of the Edmonton Oilers, 7-1. You'd think that they're actually starting to turn things around, but then they come back out and they lose to the Vancouver Canucks, who last year had one of the worst records in the VHL. They lost in overtime 2-1. I mean, talk about choking. That's what the Philadelphia Flyers are doing. And Donnie is not helping things by throwing everybody under the bus. I mean, seriously, he's basically lined up everybody in front of the proverbial firing squad and is pulling the trigger. Other wins that Philadelphia has: they beat the Flames 4-3 in overtime, in double overtime. They lose 6-0 to the Dallas Stars. They beat the Atlanta Thrashers 1-0, but then they lose to the St. Louis Blues, who Donnie has given billboard material by saying they're not a playoff-worthy contender. They lose to them 6-0. They lose a heartbreaker to the New Jersey Devils 3-2. Get outscored by the Florida Panthers 8-5 in that Pandora's box of a team. It is so bad in Florida right now that Florida management and former owners and people close to the team, fans, actually called back from retirement Run with Devil. That's right, Run with Devil has come out of his proverbial retirement, has laced up the skates once again, and has taken the reins of this dysfunctional franchise and starting to turn things around with the Panthers. Unfortunately, they lost that game against the Philadelphia Flyers. Along other losses that the Philadelphia Flyers have, they lost to the Anaheim Ducks, who are frankly one of the worst teams in the league. They lost 5-2. They beat the New York Islanders 2-0. Ooh, a bright spot. But then they come right back out and they lose to the Chicago Blackhawks 7-4 and the New York Rangers 7-2. You're calling out your own team and you're throwing them under the bus. What are you doing for the team, Donnie? Honest to God. According to the stats that I have in front of me here, Donnie, according to the stats from League Daddy, Donnie has 5 games played, 1 goal, 0 assists, and 1 point. He's a -12 as a defenseman with 15 shots, 6.7 shooting percentage, 2 penalty minutes, and 19 hits and no fight wins. Instead of running your trapper, Donnie, honest to God, I think you should start dropping the gloves and beating the crap out of the opponents. Your team may be lackluster and lacking in offense. The defense may need a spark. Instead of lighting a fire on your team's ass by throwing them under the bus, maybe you should start dropping the gloves and showing your team you're not going to put up with this shit. And the name on the front of the sweater is more importantly than the name on the back. You see this right here? This is more important than Donnie, the name on the back. This right here, Flyers. Start duking it. Start being the Broadway bullies instead of bullying around the Broadway pussies. We'll have more news from around the league coming up after this quick short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, as I said, you go from that conundrum in Philadelphia, or Philadelphia, with Donnie. Quite frankly, he's disgruntled. He's pissed off. He's a competitor. He's a hard-nosed player. Unfortunately, he doesn't quite think before he speaks. And in my personal opinion, throwing your teammates and owner under the bus because you're not happy is not the way to fix things. It's one way to get a one-way ticket out of town. But speaking of one-way tickets and disasters, that brings me to the capital city of the United States, the Washington Capitals. Trouble in D.C. I have reports coming out. I got just piles and piles of reports coming out of D.C. with a record of 8-7-2. What the hell's going on up there in Capital Land? You guys are supposed to be flying high like an eagle. Instead, you're just... it's horrible. I'm hearing reports, and this is all pure rumor and speculation. Nothing of this is concrete and hard evidence, okay? I've been doing some investigative work, and this is what I found and managed to dig up so far. Rumors coming out of Washington are as this. Jake 467, the former GM of the team, that helped Plumlee take over the just pathetic excuse of a franchise during Season 3, from CMF being a douchebag and quitting on the team, has apparently asked for a trade. That's right. Jake 476 has concerns about his teammates and has asked for a ticket out. He wants to go play with his friends. The team that he wants to go to is undisclosed. I do not know this information, but go figure. A player wanting to go play with his friends instead of sticking it out. Yeah, stand-up character right there. Then you have the owner, Timos, is one of the worst, by far, one of the worst owners in the league, according to some people on the team. This is not my personal opinion. This is opinions that I've gotten from fans and players from the Washington organization. They have gone on to say that he is one of the worst owners of the league by far. He has not been able to organize anything, has left the strong majority of the work for his current GM, PHJ314, to do. The lack of organization, especially from a guy who is supposed to have learned from a star player such as Plumlee, who has taken teams such as Toronto to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 seasons in a row, and has taken this very team from the verge of collapse and disaster. I mean, you're talking about dumpster divers and bringing them up to just outside a playoff spot. And you're running the ship into the ground? I mean, you basically are piloting this ship like that drunk pilot of the Exxon Valdez. You're looking for the next coral reef to run aground. You have veteran guys on the team that are being played sparingly, and the management is having a hard time figuring out chemistry. I've heard about games where there has been straight out yelling and bickering at each other. Oh, what the hell is going on up there? Have the inmates starting to run the asylum? Seriously. It gets to this point here where you got douchebags such as this, and I'm calling him a douchebag after a comment like this. You got Bacon Delastag, or Bacon Delta Sig, Bacon Delta Stig, has a really, really shitty attitude, especially in some games. In one game, he scored a hat trick. Golf clap? A hat trick. Yay! You scored a hat trick. Instead of being, yeah, let's go, guys, we just got a hat trick, we're in this game, he turns around and says to his own teammates, you can all, and I quote, suck his dong and give him the puck. Yeah. Need I say more about that guy? I was able to get a couple other quotes, some of which I can't even air on this program, but one of the quotes I did get, I talked to Flemmy, a good friend of Darth Forsberg, and well-respected from around the league. His story says, right here, and this is a quote, if this league or game becomes a job, it is time to take a serious look at why you played the game. I played to have fun and have not, nor will I ever forget that. Again, problems in Washington. You're 8-7-2. Your team is just falling apart at the seams. I don't know what the hell's going on, but this Bacon Delta Sig guy, yeah, you scored one hat trick in a game. You've played 6 games. You have 4 goals and 4 assists and 8 points. Honest to God, start putting up more numbers instead of flapping your gums. You know, put the puck in the net. Let the play on the ice do the talking, for God's sakes. And quit taking that out on your teammates. Repeat itself. We'll keep you covered on that one. We'll be right back after a short, quick break. And we're coming back to an uplifting story. And no, I'm not talking about rule violations or anything else that would do with the rules. I'm talking about the Canucks. Coming up next. Welcome back. The Vancouver Canucks, one of the worst teams in Season 3, has made a miraculous comeback. I mean, you talk about coming from the verge of death to actually living a long and energetic and fruitful life. This team is now 9-8-0 in the Western Conference, currently sitting in the 7th position. They've played some really, really good hockey. They've had some tough losses, but they've also had some really good victories. This team is on the upswing. They are turning things around in Vancouver right now. Vancouver, currently 9-0. They've lost to the Boston Bruins 7-1. They lost to the Edmonton Oilers 5-3. Lost to Phoenix 7-2, okay? Just when you thought it was all doom and gloom with these losses, 5-2 to the New Jersey Devils. They come back and they beat the Philadelphia Flyers, who are just absolute trash, 2-1 in overtime. Then they lose to the Islanders 4-3, but then they beat the Minnesota Wild 5-4. They beat the Montreal Canadiens 4-3 in overtime. They beat the Calgary Flames 6-4. They beat Colorado 4-1. What am I talking about? That's right, a winning streak in Vancouver. A team that had sunburn on the back of the goalie's neck because the light wouldn't shut off is actually on a winning streak. But then they lose a heartbreaker to Pittsburgh 5-2. But then they come back and bounce back from that game, and they beat the New York Rangers 3-2 in overtime. They lost to the Edmonton Oilers in a heartbreak 2-1. They played them tough. They beat the Detroit Red Wings 4-2. Beat the snot out of the upstart Buffalo Sabres 8-2. And they beat Nashville 3-0. But they lost to the Anaheim Ducks 3-1. All in all, folks, this team is a team to watch right now. They are, by far, if the season were to end tomorrow, they are my comeback team of the year. For us here at the Penalty Box Studios, to you hockey fans sitting at home, we'll see you at center ice when the puck drops. Good night.